All right. Good morning. No?
What's the pantry? You wake up now, could be your mom.
That's it. Or if you have breakfast now, you never know.
Yeah.
Right? Some people say it's not afternoon until I have lunch, so you never know. All right, so we got a few new faces here, right? Your name is Melanie. We got Chris and Grace. Oh, we got Allie right there in the back. All right, so since we're waiting for a few more people, we usually start at 7:15, so we give 15 minutes for everybody to get here. So we're gonna pick on the new people. Is that okay? All right. Everybody else was new people yesterday, so now you guys suffer. Melanie, why are you doing real estate?
Because I'm a single mom and I need more time I need to work on my own time to be able to be a mom and also work and support us.
Perfect.
So it's flexible.
All right. So I'm going to give you a quick round of what happened yesterday. Some people want to steal money from the family, right? I love what you said right now, that you want to have time as a single mom to be able to do your thing. Sorry. All right, cool. That's cool. And you think this is going to be it as a realtor?
Of course, I will be able to manage my time, when I have to be a mom and then when I have to be at work. And then my mom's schedule and work around my son's schedule as well.
Perfect. If you don't mind the question, do you have a job now?
Yes.
Okay. So you're gonna have to coordinate between a full-time job and a part-time investment, because this is your business, it's an investment, right? And your baby, right? So it's gonna be tough.
I
Make it
already
happen.
do.
I'm
I
sorry?
have 2 jobs, so I already do.
You already have the job?
Yes, so I will be able to work from home, something that my second job don't allow me to do.
Gotcha. So even better. All right. How old are you?
I'm 25.
Awesome. Cool. Chris, why?
So I do commercial truck sales. So I been working in commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I already applied. I'm already technically hired. God told me I have to do schooling.
Okay.
I think this is a good niche for me. I'm already doing a lot of B2B.
Mm-hmm.
I figure it's something I can start out step by step, see where it takes me, and things go well. I'll be taking this full time.
Okay. Cool. So Scott Eric, well, you're Rosalind Duck, right? Yeah. Ducks in a row. All right, Grace.
I want to expand my knowledge. I already doing property management. So
Okay.
I would like to get my license, work for a couple of years and become a broker and open my own business.
Wow. So people came here with the goals defined, right? Cool. Allie? Why real estate?
I think you already know.
I know,
Already
but go ahead.
took this big class.
No, Fernando. No, you're still there.
I'm trying.
Oh, Fernando, come here.
Oh,
Sorry to interrupt for a second.
that
Come
was,
here.
I don't want to.
So remember I said I had a 17-year-old in my class?
Oh, yeah, that
Semester?
was me.
That was him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then you 17-year-old? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, very much gonna be possible.
There you go. Goodbye. Allie, sorry about that.
Be what?
You know, my answer, that you're the one that, pushed me, to do this course because you said,
Mhm.
I couldn't do it, so I'm trying
Okay.
for the second time.
Yeah, so I'm pushing her to get into real estate. All right. So she does sales already anyway, other kinds of sales. Not all person of traffic is not here. So other kinds of sales, deals with people, right? So when we work in the restaurant business, that's sales. When we work in the truck business, it's sales. You do property management, there's some type of sale there, right? Any teachers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm my daughter's teacher.
There you go. And it's a sale constantly, right? All right, so everything's a sale. I told you that yesterday. For those of you that were not here yesterday, I mentioned a movie which is called The Boiler Room by Ben Affleck. And the thing is, everything we do is a sale. You're either selling something or being sold something. Even a friendship, right? Why should I be your friend? There has to be some type of sale. It's not conscious sale, like we're not, hey, be my friend, please, right? But it does happen. It happens with a smile. It happens with your expressions, your emotions. There is a sale. If the other person does not receive that, then you don't close the sale. Does that make sense? You can go different ways. So that's pretty much what we're doing. Real estate is try to be friendly with everybody, try to connect, and that's what I'm trying to do with you guys. The reason why I ask for hello, my name is for you guys to do this. Every single day, put that hello, my name is. Let people recognize who you are. And this is gonna happen after you get your license. I don't need to have this. You guys already know what my name is? Awesome. So, Bruno. You don't know? All right. So my name is Bruno. I don't have to have this with me, but I still do. Everywhere I go, have with me. Oh, you're real estate? Does that make sense? You got to know who you're attracting, and sometimes it could be the person you don't expect. Like you're in line to get coffee. Somebody looks and says, "Real estate. That's awesome. I want to buy or I want to sell." You got it? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, hello, my name is very important. Property management, that's great, because then if you have property management leads, all our agents are trying to see what's going on here. So they come by and say hi, that's it. So if you have leads for property management, you want to become a broker, you got to build relationships. Does that make sense? How do you build relationships if you don't talk to people? You do. Hello, my name is. Where you don't have to talk to people, people will get to talk to you. Does that make sense? There's people that are introverts and there's people that are extroverts, right? An introvert like me does not talk to anybody. I don't talk to anybody. When I'm out there, I'm an introvert, very shy. When I'm here, this is my domain. Totally different. Does that make sense? All right? So if I'm out there, I prefer to have this and people approach me. Makes it a lot easier. That's why hello, my name is. Got it? Make sense? Speaking of which, can you get your hello, my name is, please? Thank you. All right, so do this every day, make it happen. We actually ordered a badge machine, didn't get here on time. So otherwise, you would, instead of hello, my name is, you would have badges with your picture and everything. Right?
Getting hired after.
You're getting hired right after, that's it. Getting you guys
I
ready.
have a question. So, New Direction School, is it like, do you guys also like basically like Remax already, or?
What do you mean Remax already?
No, are you guys in the business of like homes as well, or you just a school?
No, so that's in the presentation, you guys didn't see it yesterday, but in the presentation I had yesterday, we have New Direction Group. And under the New Direction Group, we have the real estate company, we have an insurance company, and we have the school where we teach insurance and real estate.
But the real estate company isn't under New Direction, or what company is it?
It's called New Direction Realty, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we're branding, and that's the most important thing, guys. It's creating a brand. Our logo is not the best logo. Our colors are not the best colors. Our image is not the best image, but everything stands out. If you see our sign out there, if you see our, when we put the open house signs or for sale signs, they're totally different than everybody else's. And that's what I care about. Can I show you what the signs? Yeah. You're on the roll. I will. Hold on.
She's gonna copy you.
You can copy. Listen, if you're gonna be successful, you gotta duplicate what other people are doing. So, that's it.
you have space?
Well, there's one more left.
So the first sign is the one as you walk through the door. There's a big sign, a banner there that says New Direction School and what we do. Then we have this, which is very unique. You don't see many of these out there. The design as a house, right? The colors stand out. I don't care about being perfect, okay? I care about standing out, okay? Then we put this key right here, like people calls people's attention. And the logo is everywhere, all colors, very colorful. Open house signs points to where you need to go, right? And once you get there, open house, this is the one. You got it? I had another one which I didn't, we didn't send it to print yet, but instead of this, it has a hand that says stop, right? This is the one, that's what it says. So we're trying to do everything as unique as possible, including our system for the open houses and everything is totally different than everybody else's. Nobody's doing what we're doing. So Keller Williams, we don't have the resources as a Keller Williams. We don't have the resources as a Remax because we just started. I told you yesterday, pretty much in January is when we opened the real estate company, right? But we have unique ideas. And in today's market, if you don't do something that others are not doing, you die. Does that make sense? So you gotta be unique in what you do. Simple.
So basically there's chances to grow as well
Oh, absolutely.
with you guys. Like, let's say, oh, I want to be, so like whenever you want to work for a company like Remax or New Direction, do you have to be like hired with a certain protocol as if you were going to another job?
Here's the beauty of being a realtor. You're independent. So being independent, you're not applying for a job. So most companies don't care what you've done before. They'll ask you for a resume, some of them, right? Me, I don't care. I care about what you're gonna do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is it important that you have skills? Of course it is, but if you don't, we'll build them together. Does that make sense? All right?
So you give an opportunity to new people coming into the business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And our company focuses more on part-timers than full-timers. Because I think that's the majority of the people here, they're part-timers. And by the way, I'm in no means recruiting, you're asking questions, I'm just answering, okay? But I'm telling you about our company, what we do. We have a lot of people joining us because of the movement that we're creating, and we're brand new. We already have a little bit over 20 agents, and we're still in June, July, right? We opened in January. 7 months, we already got 20. Say it again.
I'm not selling though, out of all of us.
Plus you? I don't know about that. I still have to qualify, see your resume,
Yeah, okay.
you know, find out about your
He just sounds
skills.
like he's not recruiting, so meaning like you're not having chances with us right now.
All right, let's try to get your license done first, and then we'll talk about that, all right? So, before we start, I just have a question. Did those of you that were here yesterday, did you review anything?
Yes.
Okay, some did. Did you do the Q&A at the end?
Yes.
Did you find out how well you did?
No.
No, okay. So, because yesterday we overextended our time with the first day and some difficulties, right? I won't be able to review right now. But the good news is that I've changed the schedule to fit what we said originally of 3 weeks. But I also found a way to fit the schedule to have reviews as we go. So once we get to chapter 8, we do reviews of all 8 chapters and we go over all the questions. So the review is pretty much quizzes, okay? It's not like, hey, if you don't pass the quiz, you don't move forward, okay? It's not like that. It's just to see where you are before we move forward. So if you have any questions, you address them right away. You got it? So don't worry too much right now about did I do well with the review questions. Okay, we'll take care of that once we get to chapter 8. Okay? Good? Deal? Awesome. So today's chapters, we have a short chapter, which is chapter 2, and then we have a very, very long chapter, which is chapter 3. What I request, compared to yesterday, is for you to try to keep the questions pertinent to what we're doing right now. Some of the answers are going to come up in the next page, in the next chapter, and I'll address it as I go. Does that make sense? Just want to make sure we don't get lost like yesterday, because then we're going to leave out of here around midnight, maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Yeah? Okay. So work with me, I'll work with you. I said I gave you my cell phone number, so for those of you that came in today, I'll take care of that later on. I'll give you my contact info. And if you have any questions, all you gotta do is text me or email me, and I'll address those questions. Another thing, this is being recorded. We have a private group, a Facebook group, where you guys are gonna have access, and I'll give it to you guys this week, okay? You're going to have access to everything that's being recorded. What does that mean? It means that if you miss something, right, or if you have questions about something, you want to rewind, go back, you just go to the video, watch it again. Does that make sense? Yes?
Only for those who do have Facebook.
I'm sorry?
You have to have Facebook.
So, you still have Facebook?
I don't have Facebook.
All right, so here's the thing. I recommend right now, open a Facebook account and an Instagram account. Also have WhatsApp. These are 3 tools that will help you in your business. Today, everything is about social verification. So they will go online and search you. If they don't see you, do a professional business, a professional page. It doesn't have to be personal, your friends and stuff. You can do professional side of it, okay? I have 2 Facebook accounts. One is Instructor Bruno, which is about this, right? And the other one's my personal account. You understand what I'm trying to say? So you can keep them separate. But do have a Facebook, Instagram, and a WhatsApp account, because it's very, very important for this. I'm telling you right now, there's more houses sold on Instagram and Facebook than on actual newspapers, flyers, or open houses. Okay? Because without these 2, you're not driving anybody there. People get stuck on their phones. That's it. So if the information is not accessible on your phone, they don't care about you. They'll go to the next one. Okay? So, do you have to have it? No. Will you be able to access the videos? It's going to be difficult. Okay? Even if you don't put a picture there, just for you to have access to the group, just do it. Doesn't hurt. Okay? Yes? Sorry? If I don't know your name, then you won't be added. Just... Gotcha. All right. So, again, this is being recorded. Any questions you have, especially when we do the reviews, those are going to be more Q&A, and I'll have small videos, right? You've seen those videos, right, Ellie?
Yes.
We're going to have small videos directed at the particular question. Okay, so we have the long video with recording, which is the class itself, right? And then, hey, there was a question. Let me address that question separately. And they're searchable. So if you want to know about how long do you need to, how many hours do you need to become a broker, you search and it gives you the answer right away. Okay, it's still raw, because again, I couldn't do many videos before the school started, but you're going to have a lot of content there as we go. Good? Awesome. All right, so chapter 2. Commission rules and regulations. For those of you that were here yesterday, a lot of this info is going to be familiar now. You're going to have these terms. You're going to know what it is. For those of you that are starting today, don't freak out, because we're going to repeat this several times. Okay? So license law and rules. It says that both the license law and the commission rules set standards for licensees. Most of the obligations fall on the broker, with understanding that a broker is responsible for the associated salesperson's observance of the rules. We said this yesterday. In a real estate agency, there's the broker of record. And this is the one responsible for everybody. Let's say me. I'm responsible for all of you licensees. Now, some of you could be a broker salesperson. Let's say this row right here. They're broker salespeople. Some of you could be salespeople, and others could be referral agents, which nowadays is the same as a salesperson. Okay? But I'm the one responsible for all your acts. If you screw up, they come after me. Okay? So my responsibility is to do what? Train you, guide you. Okay? And what else? There's one more.
Pay us.
I'm the parent. What'd you say?
Yes.
And pay. You can only get paid by me. Simple. So it says right here, a salesperson may not. Make sure every time you see green, so this is for the newbies today, every time you see green, put a bunch of stars or circle because that's most likely going to be on the state exam. In this scenario, it says a salesperson may not accept any form of compensation except from his or her supervising broker. We just said that. You can only get paid from your broker. You cannot maintain an escrow account or hold funds belonging to others. And you cannot work for more than one New Jersey broker at a time. So how many brokers can you work for?
10.
10? Why are you guys saying one? 50? Awesome. Why do you say 10?
Because it's just saying New Jersey, you can work at another state as long as you have the license.
And that's why Ali said 50, right? So you can only work for one New Jersey broker at a time. I want to train you throughout these weeks to listen and to pay attention to the question. Remember yesterday I said, how many hours do you need to become a broker? 225. But if the question was, John, the salesperson, has an interest in becoming a broker, how many hours does he need? 150, because he is already a salesperson. Okay, so it's how you interpret the question. Okay, good. Next, on top, it says place of business. You see it? On top, right inside. Place of business. It starts with main office. I'm going to address both at the same time. So it's main office and branch office, which is on the next page. But the main office, it says every broker. And I told you, every time you see broker, we're talking about the broker of record. Very, very important. Because if they're addressing somebody that's not the broker of record, then it's the broker dash salesperson. Okay? So every broker who's a resident of New Jersey, please underline, put stars, put arrows, bubbles, whatever you got to put. But every broker must maintain a place of business in the state. Okay? So if you're not working under somebody else's supervision and you are a broker, like you have that license, you got to have a place of business. Okay? Now to help you not go through the cost of opening up an office, because it is expensive, the Real Estate Commission allows you to do it in your own home. So it says if the office is in the broker's own home, then all they require is that you have a separate area with its own entrance and it's visible from the street. So,
Wait, before you go there, in order to,
I'm gonna stay here.
before, you said must maintain a place of business in the state, so let's say if I have a license of a broker, a record license, I have to have a place of business?
Have to.
Otherwise,
If you-
it's revoked or something?
Then your license will not be activated. So here's the thing. You just got your broker's, you passed the broker's exam. Now you choose either to go on your own or work under another broker. If you choose to go on your own, you gotta have a place of business, right? If you're not planning on having a place of business, then you gotta work under somebody else. So your license must be placed somewhere. Does that make sense? So, very important. We have your house. Where do you think you can have an office space? Do you think it's at the first floor, second floor, basement, garage? Why first floor?
Visible to
Street.
It doesn't matter, as long as the entrance is visible from the street and the area is separate from the living area. So your living room cannot be the waiting room. The key words, separate area and entrance visible from the street. Could it be in the garage? Yeah, if there's enough room there and it's approved by the town, as long as it's visible from the street and it's separate from your living space. You got it? Very important, keywords. That's why it's underlined, highlighted in green over there.
So the office could be on the second floor and you could enter through the room?
I just cannot enter through your house.
Okay.
If there's a separate entrance, like there's a lot of, I don't know if you've seen, they're all over the place, realty companies that have a house instead of a commercial space like I do. They have a house. And you go into the first or second floor to get to the business. That's separate entrance. So the two-family house, for instance, and second floor is the business.
Okay.
As long as it's separate from your living space. Okay? Good? Now, the office can never be in the home of a broker's associate. What does this mean? If it's not the broker of record's home, then it cannot be in somebody else's home. Okay? So the Real Estate Commission allows me to save that money by being in my own home, as long as I have the space. But I cannot use your house to be our office. Good? Next, it says the broker's name and the words licensed real estate broker. Licensed real estate broker must be conspicuously displayed on the exterior. That means before somebody gets into the office, they must be able to see, oh, this is the guy I'm going to sue. Why? Because this is the person responsible for the agent that's bringing me in. You got it? If something goes wrong, who's responsible for your actions? The broker of record. And who's that person? Whoever's name is on the door or on the sign outside. Does that make sense? Right? Very, very important. I told you I was going to address the branch office at the same time because the rules are the same. It says right here that the main office and the persons working it must be under the full-time direct supervision of either the broker or, look how it differentiates here, the broker or a qualified broker salesperson. So what we're saying is, and this is the same for branch office, what we're saying is you cannot be left alone. You have no experience. You need somebody that has experience and is responsible for you. Okay? So under the direct full-time supervision. Good so far? Branch office starts the same way, must be under direct supervision of the broker or broker salesperson, and must have a duplicate license. What is a duplicate license? The main license stays at the main office. Duplicate license is obviously a replica of the original. They got to know who the broker of record is. Additionally, the names of all licensees and the branch office supervisor must be recorded with the commission and prominently displayed in the branch office along with the office license. Very simple. You see how we have desks here? We have desks here, right? The tables, right? This is one office, this is another office. This right here is our main office. All your licenses must be displayed right here, okay, in this office, because this is the main office. At the branch office, only the licenses of the people that work at this office must be displayed, okay? So if it's a branch, all licenses must be there. Your licenses here, not theirs. Does that make sense? Keep it separate.
So it's basically where you're set.
Pretty much, except the main office holds all the licenses. But if you're working at that office, your license is also there. It's duplicate.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Next, trust account or escrow account. Has anybody ever heard of escrow accounts?
Yes.
Okay, what is an escrow account?
An escrow account is the account where money is being held for any, when you're having a dispute, basically.
When you have disputes, they put an escrow?
Well, when you're going through a transaction, a home transaction, let's say that the pipes are broken, but you
Okay.
still want to purchase the house, and they're not agreeing whether to fix it or not. Well, let's hold some money in an extra account, so once the deal is done, there's money there to fix it, and we can proceed with the transaction.
Gotcha. So, you're half right, okay, but you're also half wrong. So here's the thing, why are you half right? Because you're already in the transaction and we're not in the transaction yet, okay? So escrow account is to hold other people's money. So it's the seller's money in case something goes wrong, it passes along to you as the buyer. But it's held by a third party, okay? In this case, the escrow account we're talking about, the trust account, is the broker's escrow account for the business. So when you put a deposit towards the purchase of a house, does that money belong to the broker?
No.
No, who does it belong to?
To the owner.
To the buyer, whoever's putting the money in the contract. So it must be deposited in a separate account and not mixed or commingled, as we'll talk about in a little bit, with the broker's money. Because it's not the broker's money. Very important for you to know this,
Yes.
okay? It won't be. Because that's money towards the transaction,
Still gonna come out of there when he's getting for it.
but we cannot touch. All right? But I'll get to that in a second, though. Yes?
escrow account.
Yes.
Like for me, I live in Linda. Like every year, like I'll go ahead store, like every year it'll go up to.
Wait, time out. Different escrow.
Okay.
The concept of escrow is other people's money. So you can write there OPM, which is my favorite drug always. Okay, OPM. Make sure you put it there. Other people's money. That's the concept of escrow. OPM, other people's money. In your scenario, so in her scenario, she was already in the transaction, about to close, and there's damages to the property or whatever it is. So they put money into the separate account in case the damages are not repaired. Okay, so if they're not repaired, that money goes to the buyer. Okay. In your scenario, you're talking about taxes and insurance, which we'll talk about when we get to mortgage. Tax and insurance escrow. Insurance could go up because premiums go up based on whatever the insurance company wants. Taxes could go up. No, they definitely go up, right? So that's what varies in your mortgage. If you have a fixed mortgage, principal and interest is fixed, but then your taxes and insurance could go up every year. Okay? So separate escrows. Don't get it confused. We're talking about the business still. If I open up a business, I must have a separate account to hold other people's money. Got it? So your transaction, your part of the transaction is going to come in 10 chapters. Yours is way after, 13 chapters. Yes?
That's the broker's responsibility.
This is the broker, right? So we're still talking about licensing, rules, regulations, all that stuff, okay? Those are great questions, so make sure you guys don't forget this. Escrow for transactions and escrow in the mortgage, okay? We'll pick it up later in detail. So it says right here, a broker must establish a separate special trust account, also known as escrow account, in an authorized financial institution in New Jersey. And this is to be used for deposit of all money belonging to the persons. We just addressed that. Here's something you should remember. The name of the financial institution, so where you put the money, where you open that account, and the account number must be reported to the commission. Who's the commission? New Jersey Real Estate Commission. Yes. So the commission, both at license application and at the time of renewal. Because the broker also has to renew every 2 years, right? So every 2 years, we got to tell the real estate commission, yes, the money is still in the same account. We have not changed. Or if we switch to a different bank, here's a new routing number. Because if anything goes wrong, the commission can go and request to audit those accounts, okay? It says here there's no need to keep a separate account for each transaction, but careful books must be kept so it's always clear of how much money belongs to each client or customer. The account must be clearly labeled so that it cannot be claimed by creditors in the event of a bankruptcy or by heirs at the broker's death. So, if I go bankrupt, right, I can't afford this place. I don't pay anything else. The people that I owe money to cannot touch the escrow account?
No.
Why not? It's not my money. It's other people's money. That's why we keep it separate. Okay? If I die, my heirs cannot touch that money?
No.
Why not?
Other people's money.
Other people's money. Good. OPM. Cool. Now, brokers are required to deposit funds coming into their keeping promptly, which the Real Estate Commission defines as, please highlight, underline, put stars, put bubbles, arrows, whatever you got to put. 5 business days of acceptance. 5 business days of acceptance. Also make sure you underline twice, 3 times, 4 times, business. Circle business. Whatever you can do to remember business. Because there's calendar days and there's business days. Business days usually, traditionally, do not include Saturday or Sunday or holidays. Calendar days, it's running days, everything, okay? So in certain questions, you have to know this. For instance, if I give you the money on a Thursday, like I want to buy a house, Chris, and you're my agent. I say, I want this house. You prepare the contract, which is the offer, right? And you say, Bruno, now what I need from you is escrow money or a good faith deposit. I need a check of $1,000, for instance, right? Okay, I write that down and I give it to you on a Thursday. Okay? When must you give that money to your broker?
Right away.
Well, right away would be the best, right?
By Thursday.
5 business days.
Why by Thursday?
Saturday and Sunday.
What if I gave you during the day on Thursday? Isn't that a business day still?
Is there any for 5 o'clock?
Ah. If it doesn't say anything, then it's considered the same day, so it's business day. If it says that I gave you the money at 10 o'clock, are the banks open?
No.
No, so there's no way I could deposit, so it rolls over to the next day. Okay? The state exam is not gonna get that specific. They assume that it's done, a transaction done during the business day. So Thursday still counts. Okay? So when must you deposit by? Wednesday. You got it? So Thursday still counts as a business day. Is that good? Okay. Now it says here, salesperson should immediately give any escrow monies they receive to their broker. So regardless of when I gave to you, I gave you on a Thursday, and weekend is coming along. You might not even go to the office, Chris. You might head down to Atlantic City. You know, start gambling, get a little drunk, you know, it's Atlantic City, whatever's left of it, right? So that check disappears. What happens now?
You're responsible for the money?
Well, this was not cash, so no money transferred yet.
The check.
But what happens now? You gotta come to me and ask me for another check, right? So when should you give the money or the check to your broker? Immediately. Don't wait for these things to happen, because now you're delaying the whole transaction, okay? And yes, if it's cash, you could be liable, especially if you take the cash to Atlantic City, right?
Rare cases that we do cash though for these type of transactions.
Look, I personally do not accept any cash. If somebody comes with cash, go get a money order at least, right? Even that I don't agree with, because the money should have been in the bank. Eventually, somebody's gonna ask me, Bruno, did you verify the funds? It's not my responsibility to verify funds, that it came from your account, but you're gonna be asked. Everything above, and we'll talk about it later, above $10,000 is reported to the IRS. So somebody's gonna ask where that money came from. You got it? So make sure you have either a certified check, right? Avoid personal checks at all costs. If that's all they have, then we'll deal with it. But certified checks or cashier's checks. Got it? Next. Brokers are specifically prohibited from commingling. Make sure you put a bunch of stars. I already addressed this. Or mixing their own funds with money in the trust account. If it's somebody else's money, it goes to the trust account. My money goes into the business account. They never mix. Okay?
Do they have like an account specifically under your name?
It's under the business name. So it says, for instance, New Direction Trust Account.
You know, when let's say everybody's money will go in there?
Yep. So I gotta keep a proper record
Yeah.
of the money that went in. Now I want you to go to where it says cash deposits or withdrawals. You see it? Cash deposits or withdrawals? I gave you $10,000 cash as a deposit towards this transaction. What must you do with that money? You got to give me, first of all, a written receipt. That's what you got to give me, saying that you received that money. And then, what must you do with that money? Give it to your broker immediately. You cannot deposit. You're not a broker. All right? You know why I do this all the time, trick you guys? Because that is a state exam question. And they'll play you like that. You'll say deposit right away. No, give it to your broker right away. Okay? Now, as I said, federal law says any cash deposit of $10,000 or more must be reported to the IRS. But let's say the deal does not go through. The transaction did not close. If I gave you $10,000 cash, you got to give me $10,000 cash, right? Yes?
Yes.
No.
No.
No. Withdrawals from the trust account must be made payable to the specific person, never to cash. Because here's the thing. You depositing money into the account is one thing. Money coming out of the account, how can you prove where it went? So if we get audited because somebody said, oh, I never got my money. If you gave cash, there's no way to prove. But if you gave a check, they deposited or cashed it somewhere. There's a signature, there's an ID attached to it. Does this make sense? So any monies coming out of the account must be payable through a check and never made out to cash. Next, permanent records. Every broker must keep records of the trust account activity for at least, remember yesterday I said for you guys to remember 6 years? When the broker goes out of business, they must close the escrow account, remove all the signs, notify the clients, and keep records for the commission to investigate if needed, right, for at least 6 years. And now we're repeating from the records. You got to keep them for 6 years. Next, we have regulation of documents. It says sales contracts. Every person who signs a listing contract, sales contract, or lease should immediately receive a duplicate original of the document. And that is, licensees must provide multiple original copies for the parties' signatures. So if there's one person signing, only one person must receive a copy, right? But if there's 10 people signing, 10 original copies. That means 10 wet signatures on each document. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, very important.
Well, I have a question about that.
Go ahead.
So, would they all be listed in the same contract, or we're talking about individual persons, so they'll get their own contract?
No, everybody will be listed, because who's buying? 10 people are buying, as an example, right? So they're all in the same contract, it's not separate contracts. What they'll do is add addendums or riders, additions to the original contract that will provide for those signatures. Because usually it only has room for 2. So they'll add more and say, hey, see page whatever for the signatures.
Okay, but they're signing 10 of the exact same contract?
Yes, the exact same contract. There's no different contracts. Okay, listing all the people that have to sign. So every party to the contract must sign original documents. So I gave to you a contract for you to sign, which I signed as well. But then there's another contract for you to sign, which I signed as well. So every party must have an original signature. Okay? And get a copy of that original signature. So you get yours with both of our signatures, I get mine with both of our signatures. Okay? Very important for you guys to know, we're going to repeat this a bunch of times. Please highlight, underline, put stars. Commissions are negotiable between the client and the broker. No contract can contain anything indicating a prescribed fee schedule. In the state of New Jersey, what is the standard commission out there? What is it? 6%. 6%? Sebastian? You said 5?
5 to 6%.
5 to 6%. Anybody else? Let me do this real quick. Can you guys pay attention to the screen? What does it say here? Second sentence says, no contract can contain anything indicating a prescribed fee schedule. So do we have a standard in New Jersey? No, it's negotiable. The common commission, what we hear out there of people charging is 5 to 6%. But there's nothing written down in law that says you gotta charge 5 or 6%. Everything's negotiable. If I want to charge 10%, I can charge 10% as long as the client accepts it. If the client negotiates with me and says, hey, 1% is as much as I'll pay, and I accept it, hey, it was negotiation between me and the client. You got it? There's nothing set as a standard in New Jersey. Remember that? There's at least 2 questions about this. At least. Next.
The salesperson cannot though.
We negotiate on behalf of the
Broker.
because we're the ones getting the listings. We're the ones knocking on that door. I'm sorry?
Between client and broker.
Correct. Who represents the broker?
Salesperson, but so the salesperson can negotiate it?
Yeah, that's what we do. We negotiate up front. So your broker will tell you, hey, this is what we like to do. No less than 4% and as high as you can. So as long as you don't bring me a contract below 4% without my authorization, we're good to go. And then you go there and negotiate 4% or up. You got that?
Mm-hmm.
But you're assisting your broker in obtaining listings. Remember that from yesterday? You're assisting your broker in obtaining listings, Chris.
So my question is on the commission, so is that on the full price of the property being sold?
Gross, yes.
Okay.
So if the property sells, it's listed for 500 but sells for 550, you get paid, you're the first one to get paid out of the whole transaction, by the way, and you get paid out of the top dollar, so the 550. After you get paid, well, the broker, yes, but after the broker gets paid then, everybody else gets paid. Attorneys, the town, the state, the title companies, everybody else. But we are the first ones to get paid in the transaction, and it's out of the top number.
If it's $1 million, it'd be $1 million, we take our cut, everyone else gets.
That's it. We're first. Yes.
That's the same for the salesperson.
So, because the payment went to your broker, you get paid now whatever you negotiated with your broker. So let's say it's $500,000. Actually, I'm going to keep the averages because that's how I'll train you guys later on. So in chapter 11, we talk about this. So the average sales price is $300,000. The average commission is 6%. 6% of 300 is $18,000. That goes to your broker. Okay? If it has to be split with another brokerage, then let's say 50-50, it's $9,000 each. From that $9,000, you get your cut. The average commission out there is 70%. So you make $6,300 out of this transaction. Does that make sense? But your broker gets paid first. So once your broker gets paid, that's it. Your commission is earned. Done. You're going to get that $6,300. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is $6,000 a bad check? Just wondering. No? Okay. How many 6,000s do you want to have? A lot, right? Okay, cool. So that's the average. You actually could go way more than that. Now, contracts. What kind of contracts can we prepare? What kind of contracts can we prepare? As licensees, all we're entitled to prepare, and notice that it says licensees. So it talks about brokers, broker salespeople, and salespeople. Okay? So it's not just the salesperson. Anybody that's licensed is entitled to prepare contracts on 1 to 4 family homes and single building lots. Highlight, underline, put stars, put arrows, put bubbles, whatever you gotta put. Because above 4 units, it becomes a commercial deal, and attorneys prepare those contracts. Okay? We're gonna address that again later on. We have a standard contract for 1 to 4 family. We just fill in the blanks. If it's 5 families or more, if it's a commercial property, a business or anything like that, attorneys draft contracts, not us. Okay, so what we do is this. It's a letter of intent. When it's above 5 units or multiple lots, we only prepare a letter of intent. Hey, my buyer intends to buy your property for this much. If they agree, we shift this over to attorneys, and a contract is prepared for that.
But my question is, for the most part, attorneys handle it, even though it's one family.
Correct, but they don't prepare the contract itself.
Oh, okay.
We
They're
do.
just there for the closing.
Well, they review the contract, which is attorney review, and we'll address right now. So they review during those 3 business days. If everybody's in agreement, then they use the contract you drafted to move forward. In the commercial, they draft the custom contract. It's the attorneys, not you. Does that make sense? So attorney review starts from the moment they're drafting a contract. In residential, we initiate the transaction, we prepare the contracts, then the attorneys get involved. Totally different from commercial, different ballgame. Okay? So, the commission requires that all sales contracts prepared by licensees contain an attorney review clause, giving the buyer and seller the opportunity or the right to consult an attorney. Do we have to use attorneys? State of New Jersey says no. We don't have to use attorneys. Other states, different. I'm just giving you a heads up. Some states like New York forces you to have an attorney. New Jersey says, no, don't worry about it. If you don't want an attorney, you don't have to have one. But should you have one?
Yes.
Of course. You want to be able to point the finger at somebody, right? And it says, who may disapprove a contract within 3 business days after delivery of signed contracts to both parties. What we're saying here is, I signed the contract, the offer, with Chris, right, my agent, right? I gave you $1,000 plus you prepared a contract. We signed, right? And you gave that contract to Ida, which represents the seller, right? Great, right? So the seller's great. So the transaction is between the both of us, but our agents are handling it, okay? We signed, you shoot it over to Ida, and Grace said, yes, I accept. Do I know about that? Not yet. Do you know about that? Not yet. So either you're gonna tell Chris, my client accepted. Does that mean anything?
No.
Until I have your signed copy, the 3 business days do not start. So remember, they only start after delivery of signed copies to both parties. You saying yes and you saying yes and him saying yes to me does not mean anything at all.
Can there be
I gotta see
loss,
that copy.
monetary loss?
Say it again.
Can there be monetary loss, like after, let's say that we sign, but before the 3 business days, I decide to cancel?
Oh, monetary loss. So now I got it. Within the 3 business days, you want to back out? You want to walk away? No problem. After the 3 business days,
Whatever, when,
if the attorney, if the attorney did not dispute anything in the contract, after the 3 business days, then this contract is in full force. You cannot back out without monetary loss. Okay, so you got 3 business
after
days
the 3 business days?
after.
Yeah.
After
So-
signing?
So you sign, I sign, she signs, I get a copy, starts the 3 business days. So now I gotta bring that contract to my attorney. You gotta bring your copy to your attorney. And now they start reviewing together. That must be done within 3 business days. Okay, it must be started within 3 business days. It could take longer to finish, but the beginning of this negotiation between attorneys, right, where they advise me and they advise you, right, must start within the 3 business days. Got it? Anything within the 3 business days, you know what? I don't want this. Fine, just walk away. Just tell your attorney will cancel the contract.
But that all depends, because I was gonna purchase the property like 2 months ago, and we did the, ground examination to see if there's any underground oil tanks or contamination, soil contamination. It was
That
a
was
bad
after.
property.
That was after review.
That what?
For you to check contamination, you're already in inspections.
Yeah, we were in the inspections.
So that's beyond review.
But they didn't allow us to do, like, they declined every attorney review that my attorney had written. Like, oh no, we're not accepting that.
Okay.
So it was very weird. Like, I feel like the attorney did not work its way around. Basically,
Possibly. Did you use a real estate attorney or a litigation attorney?
I think it was litigation attorney.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I ended up doing all the work to, like, if it wasn't, I'm not trying to throw myself out there, but since I had previous, like, paralegal and I took the real estate class, I was like, no, that's not right, that's not right. At the end of the day, it was a bank, owned property. They basically wanted to take away like $10,000 because we're like, if it came back contaminated, we're like, there's no way we're purchasing this. And they're like, well, there's no way you're backing out now. And I'm like, yes, we are. We didn't sign any contract and we did the inspection within the days that you guys allowed.
okay.
But they didn't want to revoke it. I was like, no.
And what
you
happened?
No, they ended up taking like $2,500 from us.
That's it?
They shouldn't have taken anything.
So here's the thing. I don't know which attorney you used,
Crappy one.
okay, obviously. But very, very important, realtors, right? Is everybody here gonna be a realtor? All right. Those of you that said yes and raise your hand, you're already passed. But, because it's about commitment. There you go. But what I'm trying to say here is, if you're gonna be in the business, you gotta use the right people. You don't bring a heart surgeon to perform brain surgery. What does this mean? If you're a real estate, what kind of attorney do you want to use? Real estate attorney. Because litigation attorneys spend their time where? In court, litigation. They don't have time for you. And if they do, they're gonna handle it like litigation and waste your time. Month and a half attorney review for me. That happened to me because the buyer had a litigation attorney. Didn't say what I'm trying to say? It sucks. Attorney review started within the 3 business days, but it only ended a month and a half later. And guess what? Buyer backed out. So I wasted a month and a half. And because it was still attorney review, right? It's still attorney review, they could back out at any time. That's what they did. Now, for you to get to the inspection point is because we agreed to the terms of the contract subject to inspections. What does that mean? And again, we'll go over this in detail in contracts. It means that, hey, we agree to all the terms, but if we find something in the inspection that is not satisfactory to my liking, to what I expect, then I'm still entitled to back out. So if you found underground oil tank or some type of leak, I would back out too,
Yeah.
right? And I'm entitled to because it's what the contract says. I agree to everything subject to inspections. You got it? That means we might not close if the inspection fails. So very, very important, real estate attorney, not litigation attorneys, and make sure everybody complies with contracts.
And she would be responsible for any damage to any adjacent property based on that soil damage.
Mhm.
She'd be responsible for the cleanup and repair.
Correct.
Oh,
So
and that's another thing.
that's
Don't
why
worry.
you try to back out of that deal or get them to clean up or get them to lower the sales price. Those are
You
the
don't
options.
want to get into that because you don't know how much it could cost.
Correct. That's why you throw a high number.
Aren't there laws against that? So basically, the person who left the contaminant is still responsible.
Yeah, so chapter 9 will actually talk about oil tanks. Who's responsible, who's liable for these damages. So it could be the person before you, it could be the person next to you, but back in 1980 when they started, it was always you, the owner. And then you go after them whenever you can.
Even after you purchase.
After you purchase, you're the owner. So you clean up and then go after them.
Why?
So we'll talk about that when we get to that particular chapter, because it's very detailed, okay? So, we're good with 3 business days? Do you guys understand what this is? We put a contract. Are we binding on this contract, bound to this contract yet? No, it's just an opportunity to, or a free look period. Let's look at it like that. A free look period. You look at the contract, if you like what I offered, good. If you don't like what I offered, back out. You liked what I offered, but I didn't like what I offered, I back out within the 3 business days. Okay? Next, it says all written offers must be forwarded to the sellers within 24 hours, and at the time of listing, owners of the property must be furnished with a copy of the Attorney General memorandum regarding New Jersey law against discrimination. How long do you have to submit offers?
24 hours.
How long do you have to submit offers? Let me ask again. How long do you have to submit offers? It's written right there.
3 business days.
Within 24 hours.
It's written right there. How long do you have?
24 hours. 24 hours.
You guys cannot read? It's written right there. I asked you, how long do you have to submit offers?
Okay. Good question.
Trick question. Because I'm assuming all offers. You're assuming all offers. But no, there's 2. So this is multiple choice, the exam. And there's 4 answers. 2 are completely off, and then there's 2 that are very similar. One will say all offers. The other one says written offers. Which one is correct?
Written.
Written offers must be submitted within 24 hours. Okay? State exam is tricky. Pay attention to the questions. Okay?
Bubbles around written.
That's it. My job, so you guys know, is not to teach you about real estate. My job is to teach you how to pass the exam. Right? So I teach you real estate and then how to read through and pass the exam. You're going to learn real estate once you get appointed to a broker. Now they're going to teach you the ins and outs of it. Okay? But right now, even though I'll teach you that too, but my job right now is to make sure you pass. Next, it says the New Jersey Supreme Court has ruled that buyers and sellers of residential real estate may choose whether or not to incur the cost of hiring a lawyer. We already talked about this. You don't have to use one, only if you want to. All the way at the bottom it says, other documents. Do you see it? And it says, the broker must keep copies of all unaccepted offers to purchase for 6 months. 6 months from the date of the initial offer. So how long must we keep the offers? How long must we keep the offers? How long must we keep the offers?
6 years.
6 years.
I just thought about it, it says, like, be kept for 6 years, I just can't do it.
I just tricked you guys and you
He
went
said
back to it.
unaccepted offers, 6 months.
Unaccepted offers, you keep for 6 months.
Yep.
So look for the answer that says unaccepted offers, 6 months. If it says accepted offers, then it's 6 years because they became contracts. You guys got it?
He was right.
Who
He
was right?
tricked him.
Why was he right?
Because he said 6 years. When you said offers.
It's not all offers 6 years,
It's only accepted.
only accepted ones.
So I was half wrong.
You're half wrong.
Okay.
You guys got it? Half wrong, you don't pass. So I'll make sure you're full right. All right? It's about how you read the questions. That's all it is. Go to the right-hand side on top. It says listing broker and seller principle. We're going to address this in the next chapter, so I'm going to briefly touch something here, okay? Which is brokers, exactly as it is highlighted here. Broker's obligation is to put the principal's interest first, however, still requires fair and honest dealing with other parties. So whoever you represent must be placed first. Whoever you don't represent, you still got to treat them fairly and honestly. Okay? I'll explain that better in the next chapter. If you go further down, it says, right above waiver of broker cooperation. Do you see it? Bless you. It says, to give sellers the best service possible. The commission expects brokers to cooperate with other firms that may want to show listed property. So what we're saying here is, your buyer says, I want to work with you, right? And then you see a property that's listed by another agency, and you go there. If that other agency says, no, I'm not working with you, right? Then they're committing a crime, okay? Because the real estate commission says, you got to work with other agencies and other agents. You have to. You cannot pick and choose who you work with. Unless the seller, his seller said, right here, please do not cooperate. And if they said that, they also must sign this waiver of broker cooperation form. And that waiver says, real quick, I understand that cooperation amongst other brokers produces wider exposure of my property and may result in being sold or leased sooner and at a higher price than would be the case where my broker were not to cooperate with other brokers. So what we're saying here is, I understand if you don't put it on the market, it's going to take longer, and I might get a lesser price. But I still want to be working with you alone, nobody else.
Wait, I got lost.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you explain that again? I'm sorry, I just didn't get it.
It's confusing.
It is. What's confusing is why would somebody want less money or leave it on the market for longer? All I'm saying, Melanie, is that you tell me, Bruno, I'm Remax. And you say, Bruno, don't work with Keller Williams. Don't work with Central 21. Don't work with anybody else. I just want to work with you. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, when I read this to you, I'm going to tell you, Melanie, here's the thing. If I don't work with others, then your property is limited to the exposure within my office. That means if I don't have enough buyers, your property is going to be stuck here for 6 months, a year, maybe even 2 years. And by that time, because of all this time in the market, your property value might decrease.
Okay, so I'm the client, right?
You're the client, yes.
Okay.
So your property value might decrease. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then you go, but Bruno, I really want to work just with you, nobody else. Okay, sign this right here. That you know it's going to take longer and you might get less money. So anytime a seller says, I don't want to work with anybody else, they got to sign this. Okay? Who in the right state of mind would sign something like that, right?
That's how I'm asked, because you're.
Yes, I had one.
Yes, some people are,
Yeah, some people are crazy, yes. I had one once because I couldn't explain to them, I failed on that sale. Meaning, the seller sold me on why I should not expose to the market. So I lost the sale. Does that make sense?
They say no, you can't do it, right?
I can't do it. So here's
especially
what,
if they sign it.
there's always a reason behind somebody's madness, right? In this case, the seller had a sister that was a realtor as well, or has a sister that is a realtor as well. She did not want her sister to help with the sale. And I asked, if your sister's a realtor, you know, why not use your sister? So guys, get ready for that as well. Your family will not use you. So, yes, get ready.
Why?
So I asked, and she goes, I don't want her to see how much money I'm making. Because she was going to make $180,000. Now, nobody's asking how much she paid for the house already. She has enough equity, $180,000 at time of sale. So I figured, I assumed, I didn't say anything at this point, but when she said that, the sister is one of those that you make $100 on a scratch off and they ask for $5,000. Do you have anybody like that in your family or friends?
Yeah, I have some of that over there.
Yeah? So that's what it was. To me, that's what it was. She didn't want the sister to know how much money she was making, because then they ask for money. All right, you're rich, 180,000. Not in Jersey. Anyway, so crazy people out there, right?
What was that?
Elizabeth. In the port area. I'm sorry? No, that'd be funny. Yeah, we're talking about yes. Anyway, broker and the buyer is the principal. We also going to address this the next chapter a little bit better. And it says buyers, brokers. That means you represent the buyer, obviously. They are being retained by buyers to help them find suitable properties. It says right here the same as it says for the seller. Your obligation when you represent the buyer is to put the buyer first, everybody else second. But still treat them fairly and honestly. Okay? Next we have broker as a disclosed dual agent. Underline disclosed for me, please. Disclosed dual agent. She's going to come back in a second. Was she going to the bathroom?
Yeah.
She's going to come back. If you guys need to go to the bathroom, the keys are right there in the back. So, yep, it's coming back. Huh? I don't know if she was going to make a phone call until I realized the phone was you. It happens. All right, disclose. Very important. I'll address again in the next chapter. But it says New Jersey Real Estate Commission allows a broker to represent both parties in a transaction, provided that the broker obtains the written informed consent of both parties. That means I represent the seller, I represent the buyer, and they all know. Back there.
Wow. You couldn't tell me.
As I explained to everybody already, I didn't see your phone until now.
She told me, and I thought she knew she had to pick the key.
It's one of those moments. As soon as I saw the phone, I'm like, oh, she's going to the bathroom. She's coming back. Anyway. All right, so you represent both parties. If I represent the buyer, I represent the seller. Both must know that we're in a relationship. Okay? I cannot hide anybody here. It's very, very important. Broker as a transaction broker. Again, I'll explain this better in the next chapter. For now, just highlight. It says licensees in New Jersey have the option of functioning as a transaction broker without creating an agency relationship with any of the parties to a transaction. Again, I'll explain in a little. Right-hand side on top, we have broker and salesperson. Broker and salesperson. So before a salesperson can begin working for a sponsoring broker, a written broker salesperson independent contractor agreement must be drawn up that includes the compensation rate paid to the salesperson. It could be a straight salary and or commission split. A broker's promise to turn over monies due to the salesperson within 10 days. Make sure you circle 10 days because that's your mark. That's when you get paid. Or sooner.
Okay,
10 days or sooner.
Before, after the deal closed?
After you close. Okay? So 10 days. You close today, you can go on those wall calendars. I don't know if anybody still has those. Wall calendars and put X marks the spot. That's when you get paid, or sooner. Okay?
That's a deadline.
That's the deadline. Yep. After that, you can sue your broker.
So 10 days from today would be the 26th.
Yeah, calendar days. Yep. Or, look what it says here. Remember I said that you lost the check in Atlantic City? Right. So if you lost the check in Atlantic City, are we clearing? Bless you. Are we clearing within the 10 days?
No.
Maybe not, because now you need to reissue a check. You got to talk to the title company. Please reissue a check. So it says, or as soon thereafter as the check has cleared. So 10 days, or as soon as the check clears. You got it? Here's the good news. Most transactions clear the same, like next day. So you get paid next day. Okay? The rate of compensation to be paid the salesperson for transactions that close after the salesperson leaves the broker's firm, right? And this I call the prenup clause. You can write there prenup somewhere. Does anybody know what a prenup clause is?
Maybe, yeah,
What's a prenup?
like basically, you state your grounds before you close, or?
State your ground. I like that. Put your foot down and say, hey, this is how it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Something like that. Exactly. So in this case, it says, hey, we're getting married for this contract. You're going to work with me. But just in case we get divorced, this is how much you're going to get paid for all transactions that stay after you leave. Do you understand? You leave, those transactions are still yours. It's just you might not get full commission because I'm working the rest of it. You guys got it? Prenup clause. If you ever leave, this is what you get. Okay? Remember that.
Is that standard for the brokers?
So every contract must have this. So these bullet points, every contract must have. But then every broker has a different percentage.
Right, it's negotiable.
So the previous agency that I was with, for instance, 15% or 25% depending on the case, max 25. With us, we have a different way of seeing things, which is if you left at the beginning of the contract, there's a percentage. If you left towards the end of the contract, then you should get most of the commission. You did all the work. So we try to be fair even when you leave. Does that make sense? Every brokerage is different, right? But do you intend to divorce your broker?
Hence,
You never know. Be ready for it. That's why it's called a prenup.
So
You never expect to divorce.
Technically, it's from the point that you close the deal until everything's finalized on the end, and that prenup is in place.
So the prenup starts the moment you sign the contract to work with me. A year down the line, you have your first deal, let's say, right? Maybe you're on the 10th deal. But after your that deal, you go like, hey, Keller Williams has a better offer for me. I'm leaving. Go ahead, leave. Just know that you're going to get a lesser percentage when we close the deal that you left behind. Does that make sense?
So it's the deals that you're still working on.
Yeah. That I'm still going to be working on after you leave. Yeah. Questions here? Good. Advertising. Very, very important that you pay attention to advertising. New Jersey Real Estate Commission has regulations regarding any advertisements offering to sell, buy, exchange, or rent real property. Please highlight, underline, put stars. They are intended to let the public know exactly with whom they're dealing. They're intended to let the public know exactly with whom they're dealing. That means if I advertise something, remember I said in the front of the door for the real estate office must say who the broker is? Because if I advertise something, who am I representing? The brokerage. So everybody got to know that I'm New Direction Realty, and my broker is, in this case, Pedro. Because if I get sued, so does my brokerage. Therefore, my broker. You guys understand that?
And if they don't know, they can look into them.
What?
They get lost of who your broker is. You just gotta look at your pencil.
Well, that's my son, but okay.
I'm kidding.
Love my friend, but not that much. Yes.
So in regards to this, if you put like a billboard, for example, you can't just have
Yes.
the company name as that broker name?
No. You can have the company name because that's the brokerage.
Okay.
You cannot have your name only. Yours, Chris, as a salesperson.
Okay.
Okay? So you know that all over the place. This guy, Rob, sells New Jersey?
Yeah.
All over the place. But it still says the company works for him. Do you understand? You cannot advertise as Rob only. Rob and then his agency. You got it?
So you could put just the agency, not Rob, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right. Skip paragraph, it says, all ads must indicate the broker's business name, followed by the terms such as realtor, realtist, real estate broker, or real estate agency. The licensee's name must appear exactly as it is on the license, with the exception of any middle name or initial, which need not be used. So, what it says right here is that if you make a mistake when you're applying for your license, if there's a typo, whenever your license is issued, if your name is incorrect with the state, all your advertisement must be incorrect as well. Because they're suing the license. Not you directly, it's the license. Okay? Now, if you have, your name is Jonathan, but you like to go by John, no problem. Jonathan, let's say Jonathan Ramirez. You have Jonathan, John, so it says nickname may be added. Jonathan John Ramirez. But you still got to have the full name. Somebody from our agency asked the other day, hey Bruno, can you call Al, for instance, right? I said, no. Our advertisement cannot say call Al. You got to say call Albert, Al, whatever. Does that make sense? Has to say the whole thing. Now you guys are going to see all over the place. People don't care about rules. They don't care about regulations. They say call Al. Who's Al? You guys understand? So all your advertisement, this is for real estate exam, you gotta know this. All your advertisement must include your first name, last name, exactly as it is on your real estate license. Good. Chris, you're asking, so here's your answer. An ad that includes a salesperson name must also include the name of the real estate company in larger type or more prominent. Not the broker, the company. Because that's who you represent. That's your flag. Okay? Next page. Second paragraph there says, all ads must specify the property's municipal location. Do you see it? Property's municipal location. Specifically named in the ad or in the head of the column in which the ad appears. Such phrases as in the vicinity of are prohibited unless the body of the ad also contains the exact municipal location. So sometimes you're going to find properties that say, hey, two-family near Summit. Okay, as an example. Two-family property near Summit. Great. Summit is surrounded by other towns. So where's the property located? That's the question. Does that make sense? So you must state that it's near Summit, for instance, I don't know, it's in Chatham. Okay, it's located in Chatham, it's near Summit. I guess they border, right? Something like that. But does this make sense? So your ad, do you guys still like read newspapers? Anybody? Newspapers? Two people? All right. Yeah, the 17-year-old goes like, nope.
They're
Use what?
They're in the phone now.
They're in the phone, right? So here's the thing. If you go to a newspaper, it's divided into sections, like Elizabeth, Linden, Rahway, and so on. If you're putting the advertisement in that section, that's where it says right here, in the head of the column where the ad appears, then you don't have to include Linden. You're already posting in the Linden section. If you're not posting in the Linden section, then it must state that the property is located in Linden. You guys got it? Very, very important. Any questions?
So like even on Craigslist, they have to show exactly, so they can't advertise in Clifton if the property is in Clifton.
Well, they can advertise in Clifton if you're trying to attract people from Clifton, but you have to state that the property is in Linden, Chicago, whatever you guys want, wherever the property is located. Think about it. There's a lot of people coming from New York. Why would you advertise in New Jersey? You got it?
Yeah.
You go to Craigslist and say, hey, New York residents, Jersey property, cheap. For us, it's very expensive. For them, it's very cheap. Right? That's what you're trying to attract. Know your market, very important. Next it says, if in an ad, this might be a question. So every time you see yellow, it might be a question in the exam. Not guaranteed, but it might be. Means I've seen it before. So if in an ad, the broker refers to membership in a multiple listing service or MLS, then the full name of that service must be spelled out. So if we have GSMLS, does anybody know what that stands for? Garden State Multiple Listing Service. We don't have to put multiple listing service, we have to say Garden State MLS. Unless there's only 20 lines or fewer, so there's not enough room for you to do the full ad. Then you can put just GSMLS and the MLS number, or whatever identifies the property. Okay? You're looking confused. Good.
No, I'm just,
Okay, good.
I'm learning.
All right. Skip paragraph, it says, an ad may not indiscriminately promise financing. All loan terms must contain the words, blah, 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 right? Yes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
All the ads must contain, all the loan terms must contain the words, blah, blah, blah. Isn't that what you hear on the radio?
Yeah.
They don't say, oh, to a qualified buyer. No, they say to a qualified buyer. Or the printed ads, they have really tiny letters that say only to qualified buyers. Like, get this car, pay only $99 a month, and then really tiny.
That's the way
Rates
you
based
have
on
to-
qualified buyers. See, it says here, you must disclose. It doesn't say how big. Right? It just has to be there.
It tells you before you cannot indiscriminate, but then it says to.
Yeah. Well, financing is not discrimination.
Ours is really big on that, right?
Yeah.
All credit profiles approved.
So is pharmaceutical company. They're big on that. They say, hey, this cures this and this and that. And then real quick they go, yeah, but you might die from this, you might have depression, you might right? All right. Skip a few says, any offer of a free item. Do you see it? Any offer of a free item or service must be generally free, cannot be contingent upon any purchase or listing of property. A free offer cannot be linked to a lottery, contest, game, or drawing. So if you want to offer something for free, make sure it's free. It's not, hey, get this coffee if you sign up. Okay, so like open houses, we're going to talk about that later. In an open house, if you're inviting people and you say there's beverages, make sure the beverages are free for anybody that walks in, not to somebody that signs up. Does that make sense? It's generally free.
So I could stop buying this grass and stuff.
Absolutely. I always talk about that when we get to open houses. If you're hungry, just go in. You don't have to sign. You don't even have to look anywhere. Say, hey, nice house. Walk right back out.
Actually, I have a friend who she was sitting in the house and she had like so good sandwich. I'm like, oh my god, I just want to stop.
Look for brokers' open houses. Broker open house, they might have lobster, you know.
Jeez.
That's the info and
Yeah.
That is house in New York City?
Mhm.
The one that
Those you
showed
have
the
to sign.
penthouse in New York City?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
those,
You
yeah,
see, he
those
said,
there,
like,
those have to sign.
those you have to
So
sign.
he said it like a little word like, see, that's
Just sign. Say you're Jane Smith from KW. You forgot your cards today. Sign. Anyway.
I said for that last year.
Funny. All right, this one right here in green, it's very important. We're going to talk about it 3 times in this book. I'm sorry. So this is the first time, then chapter 10, and then when we get to chapter 16, we'll repeat again. It says, advertising that offers free appraisals is also prohibited, although offering a comparative market analysis is permissible. So CMAs or comparables is what we do. We look at properties and say, hey, properties like yours are on the market for X amount of dollars. But appraisals are prepared by appraisers, and they charge for that. So you can never say that your CMA is a free appraisal, because it's totally different. Okay? And we'll talk about that more in detail when we get to appraisals in chapter 16.
So you're gonna explain what is appraisal?
If I'm going to ask you what's an appraisal?
No, I said, explain.
What's an appraisal?
Yeah.
So in chapter 16 I will, but it's just more detailed compared to ours. Ours is what we see as the sales that are happening. An appraiser will go in detail into the house, look at how many rooms, the actual square footage of the rooms. They'll look at taxes. They'll look at a bunch of stuff to determine a different value.
Even around and see how much your property is worth.
Correct.
That's
Well,
what appraisal is.
well, we do the same. It's just that theirs is detailed
Detail, yeah.
to the construction material, to how long something hasn't been replaced. We don't do that. We go based on sales, not based on total condition or I'm sorry, detailed condition of the property.
Who are you?
Correct.
So that's basically if I wanna sell my house, you and the person, that's how you,
Appraiser.
yeah, person, sorry, I'm right.
No, no, that's
Pronunciation. Will tell me how much it's worth,
So I would start telling you that.
and then you're gonna go more into.
And then once we get into a mortgage, the buyer will be responsible for getting an appraiser.
They wanna make sure that you're not asking for much money than what your property
Correct.
is worth or
Yeah.
under the market.
Correct. So we start by saying, hey, this is how much it's worth, 500,000. Then the mortgage company goes like, let us hire somebody independent to make sure that it's worth 500,000 before we give out this money. Okay, so that's an appraiser. Next, Bible, CMA, comparative market analysis. It's the comps where we look at the sales that occurred or occurring, right? And we establish a value for the property right here. Comparative market analysis. All the way at the bottom, it says, any advertisement that mentions a specific commission rate or amount must also state that in New Jersey, commissions are 6%. Right? No?
No.
No, yeah, you mean, are negotiable?
They're negotiable. Make sure you underline that, put a star too.
3 minutes later.
Right?
I'm really confused, it's kind of, that's not what it says in the book.
Sorry, I don't read properly. All right, we're almost done with this chapter. Commission rebates. We talked about this yesterday. For those of you that were not here yesterday, don't get upset, but I'm not going to touch it now. I will talk about it later on. Commission rebates. In front of rebates, I just want you to write to a buyer. To a buyer. Commission rebates to a buyer. It says to prevent fraud, license law has traditionally forbidden any sharing of commissions with unlicensed persons. Again, I'm not going to go into detail, we're just highlighting this portion. But in 2009, the legislation passed an act allowing real estate brokers to provide a purchaser of real estate with a portion of the broker's commission in the form of a rebate, and it could be in the form of a credit or a check. So it can give money to a buyer. Again, it repeats, it cannot be dependent on any lottery, contest, or game. If you're giving a rebate, it's because you want to, not because somebody won in the raffle. Okay? Please go to where it says probation, suspension, and revocation. Hopefully, none of you will ever go through this, but you have to know the consequences. It says the commission may investigate complaints against you, right? And if they do, they may place your license on probation. If you do this again, what happens? You can get suspended or even revoked. In addition, there's fines for violation, and these fines shall not be less than $250 and no more than $50,000. And who gets that money? State Treasury. Like, we don't give them enough money, right? Very important to know, please highlight, put a bunch of stars. And this is the same for insurance. So if you ever get your insurance license, same rules. It says before suspending or revoking a license, the commission gives the licensee at least 10 days advance notice of a hearing. So they're going to suspend your license on the 26th. You had until today, 10 days earlier, right? Until today to show up in front of the real estate commission and say that you're sorry. unclear case. You made a mistake. Does that make sense? So 10 days before, up to 10 days before your license gets suspended, you have a chance to appeal that suspension.
And why they will revoke, like what it will take you to that, to that
that point?
Yes.
I'm going to give you an
Or you
example
could do-
right now. Next page.
I'm sorry, I don't, this is all news.
No, I know. But that's what I'm saying. I know when the questions are going to come. That's why I tell you right now. If I stop you, don't feel offended.
Okay.
At certain points, it's because I'm going to address it either right now, which I will, or in the next chapter. Okay? So just don't get offended if I stop you right there and then. Anyway, it says, when a salesperson is disciplined, the broker license may or may not be affected depending on whether the broker had guilty knowledge. In other words, knew what was happening and did not attempt to stop it. So here's the thing. Remember, I gave money to Chris, so I always go back to Chris in this scenario because that's how we started. You have a contract. When I gave you the money, that means you prepared the contract or the offer for me. But, Chris, you forgot some signatures. On the 14 pages of that offer, you forgot 1 or 2 signatures, maybe initials as well. And you brought that to your broker. You submitted, and your broker saw it and goes like, hey, there's signatures missing. Now, let me give a quick background on Chris. He's my top producer, right? He's the agency's top producer. So the broker lets a lot of stuff slide because he makes the deals happen. This time he goes, Chris, what's happening here? And Chris goes, oh, the buyer is right outside, so let me go outside to the parking lot and get it signed by the buyer, right? So you're coming to the buyer to get it signed. And this happened once. A few months later, it happens again. A year later, it's happening again. So multiple times, Chris forgets a signature or an initial. And it just so happens that the buyer is always outside waiting. As a broker, should I not ask Chris, is there really a buyer outside? Because every time, the guy just brings the buyer and the contract? Does this make sense so far? So I should ask Chris, is there a buyer outside, or are you forging signatures? You guys understand? Because now he got caught. The deal did not go through, and the buyer requested documents. Hey, I want to see why this did not go through. So now I have the contract, I'm looking at it like, Chris, what's up with this? This is not my signature. I'm going to sue you. And if I'm suing Chris, who else am I suing?
The broker.
The broker of record that was responsible for Chris. Good so far? Now it says right here, guilty knowledge. Did the broker know what Chris was doing?
Yes.
He just didn't ask because Chris was the top producer. But of course he knew that
He played
Chris
stupid.
he played stupid. So now this is very important for you guys to know. There's 2 consequences to the Brokers Act. It says, when the broker's licenses are suspended or revoked, the salesperson licenses are suspended till the end of the current licensing period. So Chris, if your broker's license gets suspended, so does yours and everybody else in the office. This sucks. So here's the good news. During that time, you can affiliate with another broker at no cost. Because it was not your fault that your broker did not care enough and that Chris screwed up. It's not your fault
So you could go with another broker?
at any time. Here's something I want you guys,
License.
your license goes to that other broker.
Just while I'm in there, my license will
Be suspended. You can reactivate with another one because it was not your fault.
Okay.
But here's what I want you to pay attention. For instance, in the school exam, the question has 4 answers, like all of them do. 2 mean nothing, and 2 are very similar. You got to remember what's most appropriate to the question. See, answer C says, when the broker's license are suspended or revoked, their salesperson licenses are suspended until the end of the license period. That's answer C. Answer D says, during that time, you can affiliate yourself with another brokerage. Aren't they both correct?
Yes.
So here's my question. What is the immediate action when fraud is committed? Okay, so that's immediate. After you get suspended, you can also associate yourself with another agency. You guys get it? Every time you look at the answer, you gotta look at what's most accurate or indicated for that question. Immediate action. You get suspended. What else can you do? Join another agency to reactivate your license. But immediate action is suspension. Got it? So if you answered D, you would have been incorrect because it's half right. Okay? The incorrect answer is C, if you guys remember when you get there. Okay? Yes?
I noticed that in the questions for the homework, it had two answers that seemed like they would both be right, or it had three answers that seemed like all three of them applied, and I was so confused.
Three.
Yeah.
Maybe it's none of the above.
Or you tried to get a test already?
No, the review questions.
Oh, okay.
The review questions at the end. Damn, she would be a prodigy for the first day and already trying to take the exam.
You never know. No,
You
no,
never know.
I thought in the past.
Oh, no, she's
Yeah.
first time. But that would have been funny. I got this after the first day. Let's do it. All right, violations. So you want to know in detail what could happen? Like, how can you screw up to get these consequences, right? So License Act specifically mentions the following offenses are subject to disciplinary action. Making false promises or substantial misrepresentation. Acting for more than one party in a transaction without knowledge of all parties. Pursuing a flagrant and continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises. Failure to account for or pay over monies belonging to others, like Chris did, forgot to check, right? Somewhere. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, and bad faith, and so on. I'm not going to go through all of them, but that gives you a pretty clear idea of what you should not do. Okay? So you should definitely study that out. And I told you that the best part of each chapter is what? Summary. Where is that? Right there, on the right-hand side. So I'm going to give you guys a quick 5-minute break before we jump into the next chapter. If anybody needs to go to the bathroom, go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Well, it's not quick, because I don't talk quick, but anyway, what happens to the other salespeople if they're like getting rid of us and